What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hot Pop Boys. David and Andrew here. As you know, we do follow the NBA super closely, and so in this video, we want to cover many different hot NBA topics right now.
Oh man, we used to do this series called Asia Guys Talk About the NBA. I apologize for the stuff he knows, but it's actually something that we keep up with almost like at an 8 or a 9 out of 10 level, even though we don't make that much content about it. We keep up with the NBA super close.
No, considering that we don't constantly make content about it, it is a conversation that we are constantly having. We're watching Gilbert Arenas' podcast. We're watching Ball Don't Stop over on Instagram. Shout out to him. Like,
whether you agree or disagree with him.
Yeah. Like, we love to hear the NBA hot takes and love to analyze the game, even from just like a play standpoint. But let's just talk about some of the hottest topics in the NBA right now. Today is December 15th, 2021. About 30 games into the season, David.
Steph just officially set the record. He overtook Ray Allen as the #1 3-point shooter in NBA history.
I thought it was really cool at MSG. People were cheering for him.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was just a good, because, you know, at the end of the day, people in New York, they respect basketball. I mean, anybody would, I think, cheer for Steph.
Even though I will say that Spike Lee looked a little silly.
He looked goofy.
Spike
popped that up. David, do you think Steph, this is always an ongoing debate, did Steph ruin basketball with his style of play, shooting the threes, showing people that it works, essentially?
I mean, as somebody who shoots a lot of threes myself, no. But I can see why the old heads say that, because when you essentially play a bad version of Steph's style, everybody's just running down chucking threes.
That's what it looks like. But Warriors will probably play like essentially the best style.
Well, essentially there's like a scientific version of that, of the space and pace. You know, space the floor, play with pace. But the old guys, they're way more methodical, like running plays, triangle offense, way more like dissecting something through, like, you know, old school Spurs basketball.
My whole thing was always like, man, if kids are growing up and they can hit those shots, why shouldn't they take them?
Yeah, I think that overall, it's tough. I will say that it is true, Andrew. When you go to a LA Fitness or a 24-hour fitness, there is a lot of kids who can't really shoot. They come down like GOYs. And they take long chucking threes. And sometimes they'll hit them, but ultimately you don't want that kid on your team.
No, I think, I always said this about Kobe, and obviously Kobe, RIP, is one of the greatest players, if not the most skilled player of all time.
Yeah.
But a bad version of Kobe is the worst person to play basketball with. I hate playing with people who try to play like Kobe, but cannot even hit close to that, you know, that percentage.
You mean the double, triple pump fake, reverse pivot, fade away.
Worst rec player in all of history is a terrible version of Kobe.
Yeah, I think that the thing where the old guys are saying like Steph and Kobe and Jordan ruined basketball, like Pippen even went against Jordan recently, Pippen stripping, but even though I see where he's coming from, it's like you said, like it sort of appeals to people's most like selfish instincts.
Do you think people always say this, oh, this record will never be broken, because Steph, he has like, I don't know how many years left, probably like 6-7 good years in the NBA left to just smash this record and just take it to a whole new level. Like, are we going to see this record broken?
I believe the next closest person is Trae Young. And I saw a stat that said Trae would have to play till he was like 45 to beat it. If Steph stops at 40. No, if Steph stops at 40, Trae has stopped at 45. Because Trae, he's not as good of a shooter, and they don't run those like off-ball sets for him because he's always on the ball.
Yeah. No, I think the Warriors system is perfect for Steph to jack up that many threes, because he's going to get a lot of screens. Trae has to like work for it, dribble, because just the system's not like
And surprisingly, #2 was Ray Allen, #3 was Kyle Korver, #4 was James Harden.
Yo, James Harden jacks him up. In Houston, he was jacking up like, what, 12 or 13 threes a game?
Yeah, sometimes you go like 7 for 13 or 7
Crazy.
for 15. It'll be interesting to see if James can get back on track, sort of, you know, sort of redefine himself. I don't think you're going to see Houston Harden anymore, but I think he can reinvent himself at an all-star level for sure.
I think he's slowly coming back, but you're right. He's not going to reach like 100% of what he was a few seasons ago. I think that's like a little bit, I think that'd be unfair to expect.
Yeah, it'd be difficult. I do think it's interesting. What do you think about how like Matisse Thybulle and Mikal Bridges were able to do a pretty good job on Steph?
I think the way you defend Steph is you put a long 6'6", 6'7", wingman that's young, who's quick.
With like 7 foot wingspan.
Yeah, who's got like at least a 6'9" wingspan. And I mean, they gotta have pretty good defensive instincts, but you put put him, tag him onto Steph the whole game.
And you know what I
and
realized
chase him
too?
down with his arms. Did you see how they play?
Yeah.
They kind of stick their arms out enough where it's not a foul, but they track him like this.
And you know what I noticed too? Matisse Thybulle and Mikal Bridges, the 2 games where they locked Steph down, they had like, well, Matisse had a little bit more, but like Mccollum Bridges had 1 point that game.
No, that's all you can do that whole game.
Like you can't even
you
think about getting buckets.
Don't leave him, and you're not scoring because you're not going to score on Steph more than he scores on you.
Yeah.
But you're going to hold him to a few points, tire him out. You're super long. You might block him. Thybulle and Mikal Bridges are both really good defenders. So yeah, I mean, you put long, quick guys on him, I think you can slow him down.
Yeah, with defensive intensity, because Alex Burks is actually like pretty long too, but he don't really got that defensive awareness. He kind of just took his eyes off Steph, let Steph splashed it on him in the garden. Moving on, man. So overall, what is your takeaway, man? I think Steph, to me, is good for the game. It's good for the game, but it's gonna take like some time for like the public to catch up to like understanding what he did and then putting in the work to be like that.
You know what I always thought was interesting? I don't see enough kids taking on Steph's shooting form. Because I'm like, listen, if that's the greatest shooter ever, so now the greatest shooter ever kind of has one of those low release, quick release, push shots that he uses a lot of leg. Really, it's not a high release.
Very
so
high,
I'm saying,
low leverage.
So I'm saying now is that our kids gonna start shooting like that now? Because that's the greatest shooter ever.
More people should.
Because everybody used to be like, oh, Ray Allen's shot. Ray Allen's shot is actually completely different than Steph. They actually have like almost 2 different shots. Ray Allen would pop it up from the top, shoot it high, use lots of a
very springy,
very springy shot, and then Steph is completely different. So I don't know. Moving on, guys. Real quick, let's talk about Zion, man, because Zion was just the talk of every NBA video just like 2 seasons ago, a little bit last season still, but this season, obviously he's hurt, but like he looked big, he looked huge, looked like he gained a bunch of weight. We talked about in a previous video about how his health will always kind of hold him back from becoming as great as he's supposed to be.
Right, right. He's kind of like a ultra big Charles Barkley mixed with like Sean Kemp. Mixed with like
a little higher IQ than Sean Kemp though, like
yeah, like a Shaq or something like that, like Shaq, Sean Kemp. You know, he's a little bit shorter, but like that's why I said Barkley and Sean Kemp. But like, you know, he's just got to lose the weight. And I think someone told me I heard he wants out of New Orleans. He doesn't feel like that's like a good franchise.
I think he should be on a better team, and I think that he should come in and it's kind of a feeling like an Embiid situation. Remember when Embiid, like highly talented, huge guy, but took a long time for people to feel comfortable with him being healthy. Like you just didn't know if he was gonna be on the court.
But now he's healthy.
Yeah. Well, so far. And then all it takes is one injury for him to not be healthy.
You know, I'm a very big Zion fan. I actually have high hopes for his signature sneaker line. I like the Zion 1. You know, it was pretty cheap, but you know, had the full length Air. So
real quick on the Asian basketball players side, we got to talk about Roy Hachimura and Yuta Watanabe. Yuta is healthy right now. He's playing.
We just saw him yesterday.
We just saw him play yesterday, and he's getting playing time. He plays pretty good defense, surprisingly. I think that's actually what they put him in for, because offensively, he's only shooting like 36% this year.
He's actually very quick with the ball.
Yeah.
To drive and kick.
Yeah. He had a good pass late in game against the Nets yesterday.
He had an assist.
Yeah, that was like the last 3 minutes of the game. So that was cool to see him in.
Handles the ball surprisingly well for somebody his size. He handles the ball. He's like 6'9". He's not as tall as Lauri Markkanen, but he kind of reminds me of Lauri Markkanen in the sense that he shoots a better defender, but much worse offense.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, I think he's had a few games where he did shoot well from 3 in previous seasons, but this year I think Utah's not. He's kind of a lot of his threes have been like back rimming or in and out.
Dave, are you surprised if I tell you what his free throw percentage is right now for this season? 58%.
Damn.
Utah, I'm not gonna lie, man. As an Asian basketball player, I expected you to have a higher free throw.
Yeah, Yao had Yao was like 80%. Yao was like 82.
You know,
for me, Roy Hachimura. If you guys don't know, Roy Hachimura is half black, half African, half Japanese, raised in Japan, and he plays for the Japan national team. He played in the Olympics in Tokyo, and I guess he had a really tough time because he couldn't lead Tokyo to a win. So I guess him and he felt very sad about that, and it weighed on his mental really hard, and that's why he hasn't really returned to the NBA this season yet. It's still early. We're only a quarter through the season. You know, Kyrie's not back yet either, obviously due to the vaccine situation. But like, What do you think about Roy? I mean, I just hope he gets better. I know that mental health issues are like, surprisingly, to be honest, and I don't want this to sound cliche or stereotypical, they're a pretty big thing in Japan. That people take things really hard there.
I also think it's just a larger conversation in general with a lot of NBA players. You generally don't think of athletes as the guys who want to admit and live up to their mental health issues. It's like, and talk about them openly, but I think it's becoming more common. It is true that like, you think of these people as like warrior athletes, so like, nothing can faze them, and it's like, no, I mean, there's things,
Yeah. So best wishes to Roy Hachimora. I'm a big fan. I think a lot of people saw him as possibly a fringe all-star later in his career if he continued his acceleration.
Let's talk about some teams that are kind of struggling, or players that are kind of struggling, that were so hyped the last few seasons. Someone like Luka Doncic, who actually stat-wise has pretty good stats, but his shooting percentages are lower than his past years. But it feels like he's not being talked about as much, and maybe this is just a media thing, but it's like people are not like believing in Luka, even though they know he's talented and skilled. They're not believing in his like ability to win as much.
Yeah, I think he's fallen out of like anybody's like MVP race list. You know what I mean? For now, I think that they're kind of looking at him a little bit like he's just chucking threes and he's holding the ball a lot.
Kind of ball dominant.
And I guess he came into the season overweight, 20 to 30 pounds. You know what I mean? There was those videos of him smoking hookah in the off season and stuff like that. Guys. And the only other player that we've personally seen smoke hookah a lot during the season was John Wall. We were in Philadelphia next to John Wall at a hookah spot. I just think that, I think Luka has got to trust his teammates more. And I heard that Jason Kidd's really been trying to hammer that into his head. Because it's funny because Jason Kidd is coaching Luka, but Jason Kidd as a player was like the opposite of Luka.
Exactly. AD, man, ever since he made the top 75 list, I don't think it has anything to do with this, but he hasn't been playing very well.
You know what the weird thing is? I was looking up player efficiency ratings, and AD's is still pretty high because he gives you a little bit of everything. But just the narrative and just when you look at it from the eye test perspective, AD looks like he's like lost like 25% of his like skill.
Do you think it's Russ? Because here's obviously for the most part, I'm a pretty big LeBron fan. I usually trust in his GM choices. But obviously there's a lot of doubts when he got Russ on the team, and then kind of the doubts have only increased through the year because although everybody's putting up numbers, like doesn't seem like they're playing well, and it's very ugly basketball. So,
well, definitely Russ doesn't provide the spacing that AD needs.
Yeah,
but Rondo didn't either, and he plays really well with Rondo. If Rondo was like just a little bit, Rondo's a little old.
Do you think AD maybe just like doesn't like Russ as much as LeBron likes Russ?
I don't know. I don't know what it is about AD. AD to me, he seems like he lacks a little bit of like fire sometimes. Like he's just like kind of cool with like however the team does it. It's a little bit of a similar attitude to Cat. Like if you put Cat with LeBron, Karl Anthony Towns, they would probably win a championship as well.
Yeah.
But on their own, their ability to be a floor raiser for their franchise is like not as good as you'd think.
All right, hot take. Does Russ get traded this season or not?
I don't think so because his contract's too big, and I don't know that many teams that like want him, to be honest.
Yeah.
They don't want him like taking 25 shots a game.
So what are your predictions? Do the Lakers pull it out because they have LeBron and LeBron will just figure it out towards the end of the season, which has kind of happened before? How far do they go? And by far, I mean like not necessarily a championship, but like even just like.
I mean, I think second, third round is still possible for sure. I mean, it seems tough to bet against Bron in the first round of anything unless they.
They're getting best first.
They match up against like a, Phoenix or something like that. But yeah, I think they're still. It seems like a championship still could be in play, but it'd be like at a 10% chance.
And I think it's funny the whole narrative of LeBron being washed, even though he's putting up crazy stats still. He even compared to his regular season career stats, he's just a little bit better this season than like shooting wise, everything. So I'm like, it's funny because on the stat sheet you're like, there's nothing wrong with LeBron. Obviously you watch the games. They call him washed. He's a little slower. He like is giving up more on plays. They're over celebrating when like one cool thing happens. it's just visually from the narrative standpoint not looking super great for LeBron, but like stat-wise, you can't argue. I mean, he's killing it.
Not that this means everything, but his player efficiency rating, same as Steph's. And Steph, a lot of people consider him to be the best player in the league right now, obviously leading Warriors.
So LeBron is washed, but then Steph's at his peak.
Right, but they have the same stats.
Right. Well, yeah, one person is on a team that's probably playing like the best basketball.
Well, here's the truth, right? The narrative matters the least, and then you could argue whether eye test or advanced analytics are more important. But those come number one and two, and narrative definitely comes third in terms of importance. Yo, we got to talk about my NBA comparison, man. And one of my NBA comparisons that I'm very interested in where he ends up. Buddy Hield. I'm a big Buddy Hield fan.
He's kind of like out of rotation. Like he's not really getting a lot of playing time.
Well, they got this new guy, Damian Lee, which I think they like his defensive intensity. Obviously, it's a lot stronger than Buddy.
So where should Buddy go, man? Because Buddy is what? He's not a defensive force.
No.
He can go off on threes, but like, and he's kind of an overall scorer, but like I feel like not that consistent.
I think he could be consistent on the right team that had better spacing. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine what he would do on like, let's just show you, for example, a team like even the Nets or the Bucks.
Or the Hawks. Like
or
if
the
he
Hawks,
had taken Herder's position.
Yeah. Like
Herder, I bet, plays better defense.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough right now because you can't be on the floor to hit threes if you can't hit your rotations on D.
Yeah, and you give up threes.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to give up a lot of threes, you can't, like, there's no amount of threes that's going to make up for
coaches nowadays are not looking for guys who like trade buckets and like get a bucket, give one up. They want the players who like lock down defensively and could get you a bucket on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Like obviously everything's sort of like orientated nowadays around a couple superstars and then a bunch of 3 and D guys.
Yeah.
Right. That's how like everybody's running their system now.
Yeah.
So I think that, I think the Kings are in an interesting situation. It's a poorly run franchise, to be honest. And they got a lot of talent. That people want that really like are not meshing together. Like it's a bunch of young guys who like never won anything, don't know how to win, but who knows, parsed out and traded to like better franchises, they could have like good careers. I'm not saying that Buddy Hield will be an all-star by any means, but he would be like, like maybe like 18 a game, like on good splits. Like right now he's like, in the past he's averaged 18 on bad splits.
What do you think? Does Kyrie come back this season? Here's my take. There is some optimism. I think there's a good chance Kyrie comes back this season. And that would mean essentially that he does get some form of the vaccine, whether it's the 1 shot or the 2 shot. But I think so because of this. I think Kyrie still loves basketball. He sees KD. KD is going off. And if KD's playing like this for the rest of the season, you add Kyrie, their chances of winning the championship are so much better.
Yeah.
Well,
KD looks like he's getting his buckets the easiest he's ever gotten them in his career.
He's running down hitting twos. Now, he's not hitting that many threes, actually, but his 2-pointer game, his 12, 15-footer game is crazy.
Well, do you think that has to do with the modern-day defenses? They're obviously not designed to focus on the mid-range. Like, because everything's, like, super spaced out now.
From, watching a lot of Nets games, obviously, what I'm seeing is, like, KD is driving past, getting a screen, driving past, right, crossing that 3-point line, taking one big step in because that's all he needs, and then he's just pulling up. And, that's a great shot for him.
Shoot like 60-something% on those or something.
Bro, I think KD's at that. He's having such a good year, and like essentially, is it his peak or not? Or peak can be multiple years, right? He's in his peak.
Peak might not be that you have the most like highlight plays that you ever had in your career, because I think those days are behind him. But in terms of his understanding of his spots and just like the smoothness and like how easy the game comes to him.
I think peakness as in a balance between your physical abilities and your mental and skill abilities, right? And he's kind of in that zone right now. And I think you add Kyrie, and Kyrie knows this, man. If Kyrie comes back, like, I think they really do win the championship. But, and obviously the team will welcome him back at this point. I'm sure that they were like feeling some type of way in the beginning for sure, which is fair, when Kyrie didn't want to come back to the game and do all that. But I don't know. I think there's a chance. Just to hype it up. Shams said it. Shams is legit. Ben Simmons. Do we even got to talk about Ben Simmons, man?
You know, for me, it's not a topic I really enjoy talking about. I just feel like I never was a big Ben Simmons fan, even when he was at his peak. You know, whenever it was like 17, 8, and 8. And I just didn't really see how he fit on a good team. Not that he can't contribute defensively. He can guard 1 through 5. You know, which is like pretty impressive. But I just know. I just didn't know. Like, he couldn't shoot. He kind of seemed like, hey, I had like a weird mental block when it came to shooting. And I used to be a big Mccollum fan, but now I'm just like, yo, guys, if you like have mental blocks for like essential parts of the game, it's almost like it's not as bad as Royce White, like not being able to fly out a plane, which completely killed his career. But like, why can't you shoot it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is something
I think that whole beef with him and Daryl Morey, now it's like, is his stock high or stock low? I've never seen anybody debate. Like, what do you think? Do you think them not having traded him raised his stock or lowered his stock?
Man, I know that there's a lot more smarter people who have opinions on this. I don't know. I just imagine that the more that it seems like Ben Simmons is harder to work with, that his stock goes down. Like, there's no waiting because he's not getting any better.
Right.
Like right now.
But he ain't just in the gym right now.
Is he? I mean, he might be in the gym, you know, I'm sure, but like, dude, is his attitude getting better? I don't know. If teams don't see his attitude change, I don't see that many good teams that want him.
They don't want to take that risk.
I think some like middle to lower level teams will take him for sure. You know, he's still all-star, but like, I don't know, man. You know, I was more of a Ben Simmons fan, but he just kind of was so frustrating.
He feels very like entitled with his attitude.
Pissed me out, man. Yeah. Anyways, Isaiah Thomas, man, signed in the G League.
Hey,
you know,
what did all be about? We went to UW together at the same time. He was older than us, but
IT. I mean, this is a guy who formerly was dropping 28 per game with the Celtics in the playoffs.
Good splits.
That was a crazy year, and then now he was out of the NBA. Did his whole like journey, kind of made like a case to come back to the NBA by playing like in the Pro-Am games and dropping like 60 points. And people were kind of like, oh, IT should be back in the league. Come on, come on. It's kind of like a Melo situation. Like, you know how Melo came back into the league and actually was super productive. And like, even though I doubted him, but then he came back and like Melo has found his groove.
Melo, I believe, is top 10, number 10 in the NBA at catch and shoot.
Yeah.
Efficiency, so.
Yeah, even right now at this age on the Lakers. And then like, Ken IT, obviously he's in a different situation. He had like a hip problem, and then he's a lot shorter. His style.
I think I'm surprised that he didn't join the G League earlier. Like, I think he was looking for a straight to NBA deal or a two-way, and the only thing that people were offering were pure G League contracts. But it seems like he's open to, at this point, taking the pure G League. And it's tough to say because I feel like, you know, he got a 10-day last year. I think this is the right thing for him. I think he should drop like 25 to 30. They need to see his splits, see what type of sets they're running for him in the G. And if he does well, they definitely need to do at least a 10 or 2 10-day call-ups.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely belongs on the team. I think that maybe a good team would not give him the ball a lot because I think he's also like
just
maybe a defensive liability as well. But dude, half the teams could put him on the roster easily and then let him come in for like 15 minutes.
You know what the tough thing is?
Do his thing,
is like the way he plays, because he kind of needs a lot of moves and screens. People are kind of moving away from that style. Like, teams don't want to run sets for like a sixth man, like a second unit, third unit type of person. You know what I mean? Like, teams are not trying to like set like double down screens. And then,
yeah. You know, I'm not a GM, but like I definitely think he'll play in the NBA again. I think he's going to get a shot.
I think he'll get another 10-day for sure.
I think he'll get another shot, yeah. But it's hard to say for how long. People who are struggling, Trailblazers, Celtics.
Oh, yeah.
Nuggets.
I feel like the Trailblazers, they hired Chauncey, right? They fired their GM that they had for like 10 years.
Chauncey to make Dame happy is right, kind of like what they did.
I guess that was a 50-50 because Dame was cool with Chauncey, but Chauncey's a first-time coach.
Yeah, that's true.
And sometimes the player-coach thing, it doesn't always work.
You mean
like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work.
Man, you know what?
It's not a given that because you are a champion as a player, you're going to be a champion coach.
Yeah, speaking of the struggles with the Blazers, man, CJ McCollum and his like collapsed lung, which he's like, okay. I mean, he's like, not 100% is what I'm saying. So it's like, that's kind of it sounds bad. When does he come back? And how is this basically affect the rest of his career?
Well, basically, it's a wrap for the Blazers, but it just depends on the NBA. If you want to make a living, if you're trying to be an owner that's like just selling tickets and selling TV deals, as long as you have the fan base, you can monetize. But then there's always, of course, monetization of your team as an owner does have direct correlation to the success of the team. But, like we saw for a number of years, the Clippers were really bad, but they made a lot of money because they were in a major market. They were still, everybody in LA needs to go out and spend money. So, I don't know what they're going to do. I think the Blazers are profitable. There's no other pro sports franchises there, unless I think they might have maybe got an NHL team or something like that. But, you know what I mean? Like, if they can make the money while struggling with Dame, why would they trade Dame? And then risk not having a star to sell tickets?
Celtics, you know me. I'm not a Tatum hater. I'm just a Tatum doubter.
So you like, what, a Damian Lillard for Jaylen Brown plus somebody else swap? That would be sick to see Dame with, like, Tatum.
I wish Dame left, but I know Dame wants to win a championship in Portland, but I'm like, dude,
right.
That's going, like, it's pretty hard,
What do you think the Celtics would have to give up along with Jaylen Brown?
For Dame?
Yeah, like a Robert Williams III or something. Somebody else good. Like another, like, if Jaylen Brown's a fringe all-star, they're going to need to give up another fringe all-star to get, like, like a Hall of Famer like Dame.
Yeah. Dame and Tatum would be crazy. But I was what I wanted to talk about the Celtics and how people have been talking about trading Jaylen Brown for, like, I don't know, like this.
Right, because him and Tatum, they take the same shots as.
Yeah. Because I think the whole young core that they thought was going to work 3 years ago, it has not happened. It just has not worked the way they wanted. And I think
it worked okay.
It worked okay, yeah. I mean, you can't say nothing. I mean, you go to the playoffs, like, but I don't know. I feel like they need a real point. And then.
So what do you do? I got to ask you a question, Aaron. We'll end with this. When you have a young team that you drafted that your fan base likes but can't get it done, and you're going to trade them for guys who used to be enemies but are going to make the team better and give you a better chance of going further towards a championship, what do you do?
Man,
because I think that different teams, to my point earlier about like different owners and like profit margins, they think different.
Well, because the Celtics are probably, they're still a very profitable team. Whether or not they ever win a championship with this
But oftentimes, like, fan bases, especially like traditional fan bases like the Celtics, they're very attached to players that you develop.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they'll like go out to support those players, even if those players, like, they know in the back of their mind they need to swap them.
Obviously, for a person who is not a lifelong Bostonian Celtics fan.
Or a fan of any, like, because, we lost our team in Seattle. Like, basically, me and you, Andrew, I've learned over time that as far as, like, NBA fan goes, we don't think like other people.
All right.
Other people are, like, really stuck on, like,
if the Sonics were still around, bro, that would be my, definitely one of my teams, right? That's a home team. But, like, we don't have the Sonics.
We get to be more, like, team agnostic and more very calculating about it. I mean, I'm supporting the Nets, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, there's certain people that they just can't, they can only support the team they grew up with.
I get it. Listen, if you know that you're going to get to the second and third round right now, which is still pretty good if you know if that's, like, locked in with your core. But there's also that sense that you're not going to win a championship with the given teams that are the other teams in the market. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you could be ruthless,
do you enjoy the mediocre ride or the middling ride?
No, I would change it.
All right.
I would swap them.
Hey, you guys.
That's what I'm saying. Swap them out.
Portland, blow it up. Celtics,
blow it up. Blow it up. Dude, Tatum is not in my opinion, amazing hooper, great skills, whatever.
Almost a better hooper than a basketball player.
I know he dropped 50 on the Nets last year, whatever. He is actually on a championship team, in my opinion. He's not a number one option. No. You need that good, you need like a CP-like person. Dude, CP on the Celtics right now, crazy.
36.
Or if you swapped Tatum with Book, that would be crazy too. I'm not saying you need to, actually, but I'm just saying that would work as well.
It would.
That's what you need for Tatum. Because Tatum, to me, he's not the leader. He's not necessarily the playmaker. He can make plays, but he's not the playmaker. And he's not the greatest leader. He's a scorer. Like,
he makes plays through his scoring. Yeah. Like, if he's like not on fire, then his playmaking goes down because he's not drawing as much magnetism.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, those are our thoughts on the NBA. I know we just had to do an episode. I mean, it would be a shame, Andrew, if we were following it this closely and not making content.
No, I mean, at least we put this out on Instagram. You know, I'm not saying like we're going to post 100 videos of these this season, but it was cool to just talk about it. You guys let us know. I mean, we got a lot of friends out there that follow the NBA, and we still have a lot of fans that follow the NBA. So that was our Asian guys talk about the NBA X Hot Pot Boys. In the comments down below, let us know your thoughts. What you guys think about the takes? Which team are you cheering for right now? Let us know. Just leave it in the comments down below. And until next time, we out. Peace.